Hey everybody, welcome in. Good Sunday night. It's Sunday, right? I hope. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Let me know where you're watching from. And per usual, we'll give it some time for people to kind of filter on in here before we get started. All right, cool. I'm just gonna go back to the other thing for a little bit while we wait, and then we will switch to satellite once we get started. All right. Hopefully we all had a good weekend. It was an eventful weekend for sure here in the world of weather. Still going on with that big storm in the plains, and I'll be honest, if I can, I am pretty tired and worn out just from covering all of this and just a little bit of everything. So, but the show goes on though. We'll keep on going. We'll do this live tonight. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another video. Also, kind of a big thing I wanted to say was thank you. We hit 25,000 subscribers an hour or two ago, and now we're sitting at 25.3 thousand. So I'm sure 26,000 is right around the corner. So thank you to everybody. It means the world to me. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. If you are a returning viewer, thanks for coming back and all of that fun stuff. This evening's video that I posted not long ago, I guess at like 4:30. Let me see what it's at. It's at like a ton of views, like crazy numbers. Let's see. Yeah, it's got 120,000 views, so that's pretty crazy. So again, thank you all so much for that. Really does mean the world to me. The growth has been insane. In the middle of November, we were at like 11,000 subscribers. Now we're passing 25,000, and just well on the way up. So appreciate that so much from all of you. All right, let's see where everyone's watching from. We got Fredericksburg, Virginia. Awesome. Definitely going to get some snow there. We got Omaha, Nebraska. Brian can hear me loud and clear. Good to hear, Brian. Appreciate that. Edwardsville, Kansas. Let me know how much snow you got out there, Aaron. And thank you so much for the super chat as well. Would love to hear some reports. Watching from Alabama, South Carolina, Rhode Island. Where do I live? I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I go to school, and that is where I reside. Lancaster, PA. We got Murphy, North Carolina, Lawrence, Kansas, hunkered down. Gotcha. I'm sure it's probably still coming down pretty good out there that way. Greensboro, North Carolina had a beautiful snow here this afternoon. Yeah, a little bit of a surprise snow there this afternoon, Beth. So hopefully you enjoyed that and you got to kind of experience some of the fun stuff. I'm going to switch it because I think everyone's got the idea now. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the stream and all that fun stuff. This is a traffic camera on I-70 in Kansas, and it goes to show just how much it was coming down out there over the past day. You can barely even see what's interstate and what's not interstate. Big time snow out that way for you folks. You can kind of see that on the traffic camera. All right, where were we? We got Pittsburgh, PA watching. Thank you for tuning in, Joe. Any totals for snow in Blacksburg from the second storm? Could you show the map of the predicted totals and zoom into Blacksburg area? Yeah, we'll do that at the end, Wyatt. We'll talk about the second storm. We're going to first talk about the first storm. And I'll be honest with you, folks, I don't have a ton of maps pulled up tonight. I think I'm just going to do a quick overview, and then I'm just going to answer questions. And we'll see how long this goes. Probably not going to go any more than an hour tonight. Like I said, I'm kind of whooped a little bit from the past little bit. Dry air north of Philly might win out. Yeah, we got some dry air up there. I still think snow in Philadelphia, though. I still think you'll get at least a couple inches. Hartwell, Georgia, not far from my hometown in upstate South Carolina, Hartwell is. Watching from Cleveland. Appreciate you tuning in. Franklin County, PA, Broadway, Virginia, Hagerstown, Maryland, Athens, Tennessee, York, PA, York County, PA. Definitely... a lot of people from a lot of places. Oh, Rowan's watching. Hey, Rowan. Rowan lives like right across the street from me. He's one of my buddies I go to school with. So, also the audacity to put UNCC, Rowan. Just go ahead and type Charlotte out. Come on now. You're going to offend people. Fairfax, Virginia. Watching from Ocala. Waynesboro, PA. Columbia, South Carolina. Wilkesboro. Stretch 64 says, great to see you on the Southern WX form. Yeah, apparently I got approved for it because there's like a small little application process. I got approved not long ago, like a month or so. So I guess kind of long ago. But I just decided now that there's actually stuff happening, I'd go ahead and post it on there. It seems like a fun little platform. So yeah. Outer Banks, we got Delaware in here. West Virginia, Dublin, Georgia. Tennessee, Low Country, South Carolina. Kissimmee, Florida. That's always a fun word. Thoughts on Massachusetts with the next storm? It's all going to come down to how this energy phases out west over the plains. If it phases in a big way out there, then this will become a huge nor'easter. If only kind of part of it phases, it'll be more of a southern slider that could bring big snow to the Carolinas. So that's kind of the early thoughts on that storm. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get on into things here for you. I think I've talked enough here at the beginning and given enough time for some people to join, and they'll keep on trickling in. I will briefly say, if you haven't already subscribed, do so, like the stream, and all of you kind of already commenting where you're watching from, but keep it up. And yeah, I guess that's really all I have to say there. All right, let's see if I can pick the right button. Oh, actually, if we go back, there was I just saw police lights. Let's see if we can go back to that. Let's all sit here for a second and watch this, I assume, cop car drive down the interstate, or an ambulance, actually, is what it looks like, I think. So hopefully everyone's good there. But okay, now we'll look at the actual weather. So this is what we're seeing right now. This is a classic mid-latitude cyclone working through the lower 48 right now. I mean, it really doesn't get better looking than this from a meteorological standpoint. Stout warm front, we've got our stout cold front here, and you can see how this is turning with very strong advection, both warm advection with our warm conveyor, dry conveyor on the backside, and then our cool conveyor on the north side. All these pieces in the atmosphere working together to really spin up this storm in a big way. And that's exactly what we're seeing, and why on radar this is such an impressive looking system as well. Big band of snow from Kansas through Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, getting into portions of Virginia and West Virginia, and a lot of comments from people up into Philadelphia asking about their snow. It's on the way. It hasn't even started in Washington, D.C. yet, so don't lose hope. It should swing in overnight tonight. All of this will shift north, and if the storm just keeps on its normal track right now, and we kind of look at the northern extent of this, you get the point. It'll definitely snow down here into Philly. Might even snow a little bit in New York City. So snow's on the way. Don't lose hope. Don't freak out yet. We got some time to get there. And then just an absolute icy mess from Louisville to Evansville to Lexington, Danville, Kentucky, Madisonville, Bowling Green, and or Bowling Green, however y'all say it in Kentucky. And then a feisty line of storms down here too. In fact, let's go back. We had a tornado warning earlier. It looks like we still do. So in case anyone's watching down here, let's briefly talk about this for a second. Tornado warning for portions of Mississippi. In fact, it looks like 2 tornado warnings. Yeah, we got 2 tornado warnings out here. So I haven't really done this on live before, but let's do a little bit of severe weather breakdown. And yeah, that's a tight couplet, folks. Moving just past Carthage, Mississippi. It looks like it's going to go just north of Pearl River and north of Philadelphia, Mississippi. So this is a strong couplet of rotation in here. So definitely a good thing that we switched over to look at it really quickly. Going to move just north of Philadelphia, Mississippi. Looks like a relatively rural area, but if you live in Pearl River, north side of Philadelphia, south side of, what is the name of this town? Let's see if we can even read that. I don't know. It's not quite one to show for me, but here's that area of rotation. Again, just past Carthage, Mississippi. Another area behind it. This one crossing Mississippi Highway 17, just north of, it looks like Camden, Mississippi, and that will be working towards the Highway 43 corridor near Thomastown, Mississippi. So a couple tornado warnings out there. And like I said, folks, this storm is bringing it all. It's bringing ice, it's bringing snow, sleet, freezing rain, which I guess that's ice, but it's bringing that, heavy rain, and even severe weather. Let's see if we have a drop on correlation coefficient. I'm not seeing anything jumping out saying that there's a debris signature with this right now, but that is very tight rotation and a tight couplet right along Mississippi Highway 16 right now, moving towards the east out of Carthage. So that's you're definitely glad we tuned in to show that real quick. So if you have any family down that way, neither one of these tornado warnings, let them know that feisty weather on their way, including a possible tornado. All right, another thing I want to do here, just because I think this is kind of fun, let's take a look at some traffic cameras. This is what I was showing you earlier, but let's just kind of take a look at some still frames and some places through Kentucky. Let's look in Louisville here, just north of the city, and see if we can get to some of these traffic cameras and see what they're showing. This is along, let's see if it says what road it's on. This is on I-71, and you can clearly see what is a whole lot of snow and ice piling up on the interstate here. Again, this is just north of Louisville, Kentucky right now. Very icy, snowy scene for sure. And definitely been coming down good out there through the Ohio Valley. Let's look at a couple other places here. see if we can find some cameras out near Lexington, see what it looks like out here, right through the heart of the city on I-75 in Kentucky. Let's see what this one looks like. Well, that did not do me any good, sorry. This one might actually be offline. Yeah, let's see if we can pick a different traffic camera. All right, there we go. Give it a second to load here. Hypothetically, it'll load. We'll see. Come on, you can do it. Don't need to click it again. Okay, there we go. Yeah, check this out, folks. Very wintry scene here into Lexington, Kentucky as well. That looks like an icy mess going into the city here on, this is, I believe, Interstate 75, right through Lexington. And that's probably a mix of snow and sleet and now probably freezing rain on top of it. It looks like at least a couple of inches covering the ground, covering the interstates, and this is why we don't want you driving out there right now. That is an absolute ice rink, I can guarantee, on the interstate. You can't even see the roadway. And obviously, it's good that the crews and all salt the roads and brine them, but that only does so much whenever you get a storm of this magnitude. So very messy scene out there for a lot of folks right now. And same story on our watches, warnings, and advisory map. I've got the key at the bottom here so you can see what all these colors on the map mean. We've got winter storm warnings, blizzard warnings, ice storm warnings, winter weather advisories, and wind advisories, and then that tornado watch as well. So it's not often that you get tornado watches and blizzard warnings within, really, I would argue, this is probably only about 500 miles distance or so, all from the same storm. The center of low pressure right here over Arkansas right now, probably, or maybe actually probably back over here towards Kansas, if I had to guess. So definitely, you know, you can see where it's headed by this line. It's basically just going to move due east across whatever parallel this is that the North Carolina-Tennessee state line is, whatever that parallel is, or whoever drew that line along whatever geographical feature, probably a made-up geographical feature. I doubt it's an actual one. You can see where the track of that storm is going to go. All right, let me go back and read a couple comments, and I'll let us keep looking at this traffic camera while I do it, and it'll refresh there as I have it set up to do, hypothetically. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Chattanooga, Tennessee, good old rain now. Yeah, Fred, unfortunately, this is a warm one. The next storm, though, I think could produce some snow or ice or something wintry there in Chattanooga. So if you're a winter weather fan, hold out hope. For sure. Kim watching from the Outer Banks. Thanks for tuning in, Kim. People watching from Lower Delaware, Seaford, Delaware, Franklin, Tennessee, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, North Central West Virginia, Dublin, Georgia. Praying for everyone affected by the storm. Absolutely, Debbie. Atlantic City, Rob and Tracy. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bethlehem, PA. Hazleton, PA. A lot of folks from Pennsylvania, so it's a good thing I'm wearing my Eagle shirt today, who just clinched, or I guess they did last week, clinched the number 2 seed in the NFC, and will face the Packers next week in Philly. It should be a good game, so excited for that. People watching from Alabama, Indiana, all sorts of places. Any changes in the forecast for Ellicott City, Maryland? Hoping for a northern shift to bring the heaviest here. Not too much of a change. I'd say we're right on schedule, so I don't know exactly where in Maryland that is, but if you're hoping for a northern shift, you're probably still going to get half a foot to a foot out of this one. Would be, I think, an okay bet. Will South Georgia get any snow? I assume it says South Georgia. I think it meant South Georgia, Natalia, sorry. Probably not in South Georgia. Northern Georgia, there's a good shot, though. We'll take a look at that in a moment. When is Springfield, Massachusetts going to get snow? If this next storm phases properly, you could by the next weekend. If that doesn't work out, some other time later than that. I know that's kind of a crummy answer, but that's just kind of the truth there. All right, let's keep on keeping on, folks. So let me just give you a quick rundown of what's to come with this storm. Let me back the map up a little bit and see if I can click the right button. So we're just about done here in Kansas and Missouri. The worst of it is over. You're going to get a back-end band of snow overnight tonight, but it's really going to begin to taper off through Kansas City and St. Louis. And by the time we're waking up tomorrow, we're all done. So I don't need to spend too much time here. Most of our folks are watching in the East anyway, so I'll kind of skip this right ahead to the Ohio Valley. And this is where the bulk of the storm is working through right now. We saw Kentucky, how messy the roads were out there. It's still going to keep coming down through the evening hours and into the overnight. If we go further ahead here, this is about midnight tonight. You'll notice still icy into Lexington, Louisville, Cincinnati, seeing that snow and ice. A little bit of a dry slot here right behind the cold front through portions of central and southern Kentucky as our dry conveyor kind of works on in and chokes out the moisture. But then on the backside, as our cold conveyor is wrapping around, we're going to get a little bit of a deformation band of sorts here to kind of form on the backside of this low. And this will bring a little bit of snow overnight tonight on the back end of this storm. And you can see that here during the evening. This is waking up tomorrow morning, some scattered snow, maybe some freezing drizzle mixed in there with that as it swings on through. And that could add another quick inch or two of snow as the storm is pulling away. Let me switch it to a longer range model here just so we can go all the way out into time. This is tomorrow afternoon, about 1, 2 o'clock Central Time. And then by tomorrow evening when the sun is setting, should be all done with the snow and you can kind of begin to shovel out. But it is definitely going to be shoveling. You're not going to be able to wait for the sun to melt it because there's Arctic cold on the way after the storm. And that'll be important for our next storm, which, trust me, I know I keep saying it, but we will absolutely get to uno momento. All right, Mid-Atlantic, a lot of folks watching in here. Everything's on track still. This is, we might have the 0Z, not quite, it doesn't look like so. We'll keep with this model run. Everything's still on track though. This is late tonight. This is when the bulk of it moves into Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC, Delaware, Northern West Virginia. And again, my folks in Philadelphia, you're wondering, where's your snow? Here it comes tomorrow morning. That's whenever it should begin for you folks there. Light to moderate snow for a prolonged period. This is waking up tomorrow an absolute mess in Virginia. We've got kind of a sleet, wintry mix with freezing rain in the southern half of the state, probably a snow sleet mix in the central part of the state, and hopefully, for my snow lovers, all snow up into the DMV from Maryland, Northern Virginia, and portions of the Delmarva into Delaware, southern New Jersey. I think going to be all snow out of this. That continues through the early morning tomorrow into the afternoon. Notice here's that snow continuing into Philadelphia, probably even New York City going to pick up on hopefully a quick inch, maybe 2 inches, in probably a best case scenario there with a light snowfall event, but it'll be plenty cold enough for that snow to stick during the afternoon. And then again, same story here, a little bit of a lull, I think probably about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to get a couple hours where you think the storm is over, but not quite. Here comes that back end piece of upper level energy. And this could once again produce another band of moderate to even potentially heavy snow through portions of Northern Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. As that pulls away, could add another 2 to 4 inches on top of what you've already gotten for some people. Most folks, though, probably a 1 to 3 additional kind of event out of that. And then finally, we're waking up Tuesday morning, and it's your turn to kind of pull out the shovel or the anti-icing, whatever you have, to kind of get rid of the absolute mess that's going to be on your front step. All right, I did want to mention snowfall totals to come here because this is where a lot of it hasn't fallen yet. This is the forecast from the National Weather Service. Philadelphia, about 4 inches. You go to the north side of town, closer to 2. The south side of town, you get closer to half a foot. Much of Delaware, going to see about half a foot out of this. DC, probably 6 to 8 inches. Baltimore, 6 to 8 inches. Really, the entire state of Maryland, I could just say 6 to 8 plus inches because I think someone's going to hit 10 inches and somebody might clip the foot mark. Would not be surprised to see that where a heavier band of snow may set up for a prolonged period of time. We'll watch that. And then most of the snow still to come here into northern West Virginia and a good portion of southern Ohio, still with a good amount of snow on the way. All right, so a lot of folks, I think, are kind of done with that one. Let's talk about the storm that's coming next week, because this is what's exciting for me and exciting for all of you. I'm going to go on a very quick rant here about my mixed emotions with this storm. So I love snow in the southeast. I love that the models are showing some sort of snow, some of them ice for Charlotte. But unfortunately, I have a plane flight out of Charlotte Friday morning, probably about 12 hours before whatever storm comes gets here, to go to New Orleans for a meteorology conference, which is great. Love the idea of going to a meteorology conference. Don't so much love the idea of missing a big winter weather event right where I live, in a place that hasn't had a big one since I moved here. So it's a little annoying. It'll be okay. We will get through it. And I'm still rooting for all my southern snow-loving friends out there who want this big storm. I hope it trends good for you, even if I'm probably not here to see it. All right, here's the setup. We'll pause the map right. Actually, let me back it up even more. Let me go to where we are right about now, about 0Z Sunday or 0Z Monday, if we're using Greenwich time, I guess. Here's one piece of energy I want you to look at. Here's another piece of energy out here. So what do you notice about these two pieces of energy? Well, the first thing is they're not even over land yet. So the way that our models work, the way they get their data is we send out weather balloons at basically all sorts of places through North America and all over the world. But for our purposes here in North America, all these weather balloons get launched twice a day at 12Z and 0Z, and that's in Greenwich time or time in the UK. So 0Z is there midnight. So once the clock hits midnight tonight in London, we will send up balloons across all parts of the United States and Canada. And that's when we should finally begin to get data for this first piece of energy. Even then, though, it's probably going to be a little offshore. So it's probably not till tomorrow afternoon's runs, which is going to be right into here when that data gets launched tomorrow morning and goes into the models. That's when we'll finally start to get some information on this first piece of energy that is oh so important to that forecast in the east come next week. And then the next piece of energy, that is just equally as important, that doesn't even get to shore until right about here. This gets into Canada by about 12Z Wednesday. So that's not till Wednesday afternoon's model runs that we'll know about kind of all the intricate details about that piece of energy. So this is a complicated forecast, and I posted my video earlier. It said track shift, it could happen in a big way with this storm. And here's why, because we're going to get one of two solutions. We're probably going to get either one, a southern sliding energy. Actually, no, there's kind of three solutions. Let me walk you through them. Number one is this. We get a storm out near Texas. It stays relatively weak, and we get kind of a small winter weather event over the southern tier of the country. That's possibility one. Possibility two is we get a storm to form over Texas. It amps up a little bit more, and we get a bigger winter weather event over the south, and just the south and kind of maybe the mid-Atlantic and Ohio Valley. Then there's option number three, and that's exactly what the evening GFS model run showed. And let's break that down for you. And all of my friends up in the Northeast who want a big snowstorm, you're going to want to pay attention here because you're gonna love this part. All right, so here's what happens. Our northern piece of energy dives down, and what it does is it completely scoops up this Baja low. Sorry, my laptop's about to die. So it basically completely scoops up this energy down to the south, and with that, they phase together, and we get this trough to really amplify, and it becomes already kind of going through the progressions of cyclogenesis. We start with a positively tilted trough over Texas, meaning it's kind of tilted the way I just drew the arrow. That means the storm is kind of in the early stages of strengthening. And then the next stage we get is this. It becomes neutrally tilted, basically right over the Tennessee Valley. That means it's about to hit that second or that next gear, that overdrive gear. And just in time, whenever it hits that overdrive gear, it works into the Northeast. And check out this mega area of spin off the coast of the Northeast. This model shows a huge nor'easter on the latest GFS through the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. That's great and dandy. Here's the problem, though. If I go back to this afternoon's model run, it's kind of not that. It's one of the first two options. The pieces of energy don't fully merge in that clean of a way. And notice it's just this big strung out mess from Baja all the way up to the north. And we get a weaker system, still a winter storm, but for areas further south, and it doesn't include the Northeast. So you see kind of the difference there and kind of how the models are bickering about that a little bit. And that's going to become very crucial on what they decide should happen for the future forecast here. All right, let me show you that GFS run. And before I do that, let me grab a sip of water really quickly. So give me. All right, cool. So got the water, should be good to go. I do want to take a quick second to read some comments. So let me do that, and then I'll show you the fun GFS model run that everyone is super excited about. Also, quick intermission here to remind you to go ahead and like the stream, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. By the way, hopefully you like this graphic. I put it together this afternoon, and I think it looks great. I think it's fun. It's got the snow in the background. I think it describes this channel well. Somebody commented, hit the bell for notifications. I love that as well. Get all the notifications for when and where you could see some snow on the horizon. So I love that. I think that's fun. All right, let me read some comments while that continues to play in your face, and hopefully it'll annoy you to the point that you subscribe. Any snow for Atlanta, Georgia? We're about to show you the model in just a moment, so stay tuned. It's possible. I would say lower end likelihood in Atlanta, but up towards Rome, a much higher likelihood. All right. How much snow will we get in Pittsburgh, PA? Probably a couple of inches, Mike. Especially the further south from the city you are, the more you'll get. How much snow do you think Middletown, New Jersey will get? Let me do the same thing we were doing last night and start pulling up these towns on my phone so I can answer these questions for you. Middletown, New Jersey. If I can find it. All right, Middletown. Middletown, New Jersey, for anybody wondering, is just south of New York. Probably a 1 inch event there. You're a little far north for any big snow in Middletown. Hey, Gerald, I'm tuning in from Dallas, Fort Worth. Do you think we could get an inch of snow soon? I think definitely you could get an inch of snow this coming week. In fact, you could get more than an inch of snow. Great question. All right. What about Boston for next week? We're talking about that right now. I gotta drive through Chattanooga Monday, but I don't know if I'll make it. Chattanooga, I don't think it's too bad right now. I think it's just rain in Chattanooga. Windy, but it shouldn't be wintry in Chattanooga. And for all the Go Birds comments I've had, go Birds, go Eagles. Yeah. Hello from Buffalo. Hey, Mike. Great to see you. Connecticut, Scott asks, could get a snow event next week if this storm phases properly. The big question is, will it? And that's why we could see this shifting track that, again, I alluded to in my video this afternoon. Not weather related, but do you ever visit Carowinds? Not often. I've been to Carowinds multiple times. In middle school, I was a band kid, by the way, in middle school and high school for, I don't know if I look like a band kid or not, but I was one. And we always had a Carowinds trip in middle school. And now I live in Charlotte, so it's I could go whenever I want, I guess, hypothetically, but I don't really go all that often. How much snow could I see tomorrow in Hagerstown, Maryland? And do you think schools may be closed Tuesday too? I think it is possible schools are closed Tuesday. It's going to be a big storm. I think Hagerstown is going to get half a foot to a foot in that range. It could be closer to 6 inches. It could be closer to 12, somewhere in there. So you probably know your area better than me. If there's half a foot of snow on the ground and the sun's not going to melt it, if that's something they would normally cancel schools for, then yeah, go ahead and assume that that's going to happen because the snow's not going anywhere. It's going to stay cold. And I'll also add this snowpack and ice pack getting laid right now is super helpful to us in the South who want winter weather. That's going to limit that air mass modification as this Arctic air settles for a while. And before our next storm comes, it's going to be able to pump it further south than if there was no snow on the ground. So it's kind of like, imagine you have an ice cube in your freezer and you kind of push it across your freezer. It's not going to melt so much. If you pull it out of your freezer though and you push it across a normal surface, it's going to melt because the temperature is much warmer. So it's kind of an analogy to use there. Omaha, Nebraska, just a light dusting of snow here. Big snow was south of here along the Kansas-Nebraska border. And then Brian says Chiefs Kingdom. I can't imagine. Well, we might have some Chiefs fans in here. I just assume no one's a Chiefs fan because, I don't know, it's always the winning team people don't like. So I know I sure as heck don't like the Chiefs. But I'm also wearing an Eagle shirt, so you'd probably expect that. Okay, all right, let's get back to it. Let's look at the models now. If I can pick up where we left off. This is the latest run of our GFS American model from this evening, hot off the press. Here's the current storm that swings on through, and then here comes the next piece of energy, and we've got an all-out winter storm in Texas by overnight Wednesday into Thursday. We've got snow, ice, rain, snow close to the Red River Valley, wintry mix over Dallas, rain to the south towards Houston. And that continues, and then ice breaks out across northern Louisiana, snow in Arkansas. We've got a snow ice mix in Mississippi, at least the northern half of Mississippi, northern half of Alabama. This is overnight Thursday into early Friday morning. And then by the time the sun is rising over Friday, a little bit of light snow beginning in Atlanta, at least on this forecast model. And same story up into Nashville, Little Rock getting good snow. We've got winter weather breaking out across South Carolina by Friday evening. And this model run shows a full-fledged ice storm along the I-85 corridor from Atlanta through Greenville, Spartanburg, up into Charlotte, keeps snow into Kentucky, Tennessee, snow into Virginia, ice from Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, a big ice storm. This would be Friday into Saturday, really Friday night into Saturday throughout the day. And notice how the storm cranks up big time. This is because that energy phases in a favorable way for a strengthening storm system at the surface on the model. And you can see that unfolding here with this projection, and then just turns into a heck of a nor'easter in DC. If you thought you got lucky this time, if the GFS were right, which take it with a grain of salt, but if it were right, I mean, you'd have a blizzard by next Saturday night into Sunday, and then this model pulls it right up the 95 corridor and just shows mega snow in Philadelphia, New York City, and all the way into the Northeast with blizzard conditions and the whole 9 yards. That's great. That's exciting. I love it. You love it. We all love it. Is that going to happen? Probably not, unfortunately. At least not to that exact extent. That's a very real possibility. Again, it's one of the three options I said. I said we have a weak southern storm, we have a moderate southern storm, and we have a strong southern storm that rides up the coast. Those are really the three big ones, and any of those are still on the table. Here's the European, though, from this evening. This is also brand new. Here's a storm, basically the same for Texas. So we're pretty confident winter storm coming to Texas. In fact, I would say very confident it's coming to Texas. I would even say I'm pretty confident snow's coming to Arkansas. I think snow's going to happen into Tennessee, potentially northern Mississippi, Alabama. Confidence a little bit lower there. But definitely Tennessee going to get some snow by Friday. And then look at the European, it's just not quite as amped. The winter weather's not as far south. We've just got a light snow event over Tennessee, Kentucky, the mountains of North Carolina, Virginia, and then strengthens as it pulls up, does bring a wintry mix, I-85 corridor northbound from upstate South Carolina into Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, kind of ice event there, and then snow into Virginia, and some light snow into the Northeast. Not as big as what the GFS showed, not even close, but does show that potential. And then the storm kind of begins to pull offshore a little bit there. I do want to show you the ensembles. This is also new from this evening. This is the chance of at least an inch of snow. And a lot of folks show the total snowfall blend or the mean, and that is good to use. But the problem with that is if you get a big outlier, let's say, for example, you have three models. One says you get 0 inches of snow, one says you get 1 inch of snow, and one says you get a foot of snow. You blend all that together, and your mean's going to be half a foot, when in reality, none of the models showed that. So that's why it's better, I think, to use a percentage blend compared to a numbers blend for our cases here. And the European model, very confident that we're going to see at least an inch of snow accumulating into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and really much of the heart of Texas seeing pretty high-end winter storm chances out of this on the model. And then that moves up into Arkansas, Tennessee, and then you notice the signal dies quick. Not because, it's not going to happen, but this is where the models begin to diverge. Some of them on the European begin to show the weaker solution. That brings lower snowfall chances over Tennessee, the Carolinas, the Mid-Atlantic, but some of them continue a more amped storm that brings higher end snowfall chances into this region. And this is as far out as the model goes from this evening, but if I switch it back to this afternoon model, run, you can see the chances even getting up into the Northeast just not as high. You can kind of see confidence is higher and then decreases as we go further out into time, because these little variables have huge differences in the long run on what happens with our storm system. Do I think the ice in Monroe, Louisiana is accurate? I can't quite remember how far south Monroe is. Let me find out. If it's in northern Louisiana, I definitely think that you got a good shot. Yeah, I think ice in Monroe is a very real possibility. They're along the, I guess that's the I-20 corridor in northern Louisiana. I think it's very real scenario. I already showed you this. So I don't know why I have it pulled up. Actually, no, I do know why, because this is the GFS ensembles. So I'll show you the same thing on the GFS ensembles. Texas, again, higher in probabilities. And you just notice, folks, the GFS is a little different. It actually has its highest percent chance of snow over East Tennessee, the mountains of North Carolina, Kentucky, mountains of southwestern Virginia there, and even good snowfall chances I-85 north. We've got 50-60% chance in Oconee County, Pickens County, running about a 40 to 30% chance of accumulating snow in Charlotte, a good 60% or so in Greensboro and the Triad. Same story in the Triangle, and then the chances diminish up into the Northeast. So that tells me most of the GFS ensemble members have an amplified storm, but just not quite amplified enough to ride up the coast. So the GFS ensembles are taking more of that middle route where we could get a big snow and ice storm through much of the South. All right, let me go back to answering some questions here. Those are all the maps I had pulled up. So go ahead, just start spitfiring questions, and I will start answering them for you. And we'll see how long I can survive that before I eventually crash out from exhaustion. All right, says PC says looks good this time for North Carolina. I think so. I think North Carolina is going to get a winter storm out of this, especially the mountains. Southeastern North Carolina, Wilmington, Fayetteville, per usual, it's a tougher call there. But Raleigh, the Triad, probably especially north points or points north of Charlotte, Mooresville, Huntersville, up into Hickory. I think definitely going to have one coming for this storm. Heard that Buffalo is getting lots of lake effect snow. The Tug Hill has gotten a lot of lake effect snow the past couple of days. It's one of the kind of the hidden stories. A ton of snow up that way. It's just been overshadowed by this bigger storm event and the next one coming for places who normally don't get as much winter weather. Snow amounts for Huntsville, Alabama. I don't feel quite comfortable enough yet to give you an exact number, but what I will say is I do think there will be snow in Huntsville. And I know that's kind of a cheap way out, but basically all three scenarios have some snow in Huntsville. It could be as little as an inch. It could be as much as a moderate snow, maybe 3, 4, 5 inches of snow. A lot of options still on the table. Do I think Shreveport, Louisiana is going to get a heavy snowstorm? I don't think a heavy snowstorm, maybe ice out of this one. Good question. Austin, Texas snowstorm possibly. I think Austin's a little far south for snow. You could get ice out of this. So stay tuned, which I know is kind of the easy way for me to basically tell you to come back and keep watching. But trust me, if I had a clear answer, I'd give one to you. It's just, we got to wait for this first storm to be out of here so the models can really latch onto the second one for all these very nitty gritty questions. And that's fine. Keep asking them. I don't mind. But what will Georgetown, South Carolina see? Joey asks, probably rain out of this system. I doubt you get ice there. Now up into the PD, maybe near Florence. There's still scenarios where they get some winter weather. Georgetown, even there's a shot. Sure, it's just a small one. Snow for New Jersey, currently getting some snow. What about snow? Some totals for Blacksburg, Virginia? Just give me a guess. If you just dare me to give you a guess, well, how about 4 inches for the next storm? How about that? Again, I don't know why. I'm sorry. I hate to give you a I don't know answer, but it's the truth. There's still so many options. You could get from as little as only an inch or two to a big snowstorm that's half a foot to a foot. They're all still on the table here. Estimate of how much ice? Too soon for an exact amount. Again, unfortunately, sorry. Total amounts for Philadelphia between Monday and Tuesday, probably about 4 inches in Center City. We'll say 6 inches a bit further south of the city, 2 inches to the north of the city. It's going to be a tight gradient over Philadelphia itself. So further south you go, the more likely you are to get that big snow and ice. The further north, less likely you are. Yeah, weather is always changing, Wyatt. Sometimes it's easier than other times. Whenever it's snow in the south and ice in the south, it's never easy. Never easy. All right, folks. Well, honestly, again, there's not much more to talk about tonight. I'll probably stop the lives for a couple nights here and then get back on it by maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. But I'll probably take a night off tomorrow, which is Monday, because the storm will basically be done. There won't be anything to talk about in the exact moment. I'll keep the morning video and the night video. That'll keep up. Again, if you haven't already subscribed, liked the stream, and hit the bell for notifications, go ahead and do it. And yeah, that's the plan. I guess I'll answer one more question here. When will Metro Detroit get a good snow accumulation? Probably not out of this storm. There's a bit of a signal in the models in about 10 days. That's out there, though. We'll see what happens. So yeah, next week and going to Miss Maine, Four Seasons Landscape asks, too soon to know. Could still hit Maine, especially coastal Maine. And I appreciate that, Aaron. I will try my best to have a great trip, even though I'll probably be missing out on winter weather. All right, folks, with that said, y'all have a great rest of your Sunday night, end the week strong, get ready for the week ahead, and let's go ahead and think snow and hope for the best. With that said, though, y'all have a great one. See you all tomorrow morning.